October the 20th, 2025. A backyard astronomer captures an image of something near our sun that shouldn't exist. It defies every known rule of comets, hinting at a secret hiding in plain sight. Like and subscribe to join the investigation. The story begins not in a high-tech lab, but in a quiet backyard. It starts with a single picture. That picture would go on to challenge everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. We're about to explore the image that broke science. On October 20th, 2025, an amateur astronomer posted a picture online. He went by the screen name Dobsonian Power. The picture was of an object named 3I Atlas. For months, scientists had told the world that 3I Atlas was a comet. It was an interstellar comet, meaning it came from a place far beyond our own solar system, from the dark spaces between the stars. This was exciting, but not world-changing. We had seen an interstellar visitor before, an object called Oumuamua. So, 3I Atlas was seen as just the third of its kind, a rare and interesting guest, but still just a guest. It was expected to behave like any other comet. It would fly by our sun, put on a show with a bright tail, and then disappear back into the endless night of deep space. But the picture from Dobsonian Power showed something was very wrong. The picture was raw, unprocessed. It was a direct look at what his telescope saw, and what it saw was impossible. It showed an object near the sun that had no comet tail. This was the first red flag. It was a huge red flag. A comet getting close to the sun must have a tail. It is not an option. It is a rule of physics, as certain as the law of gravity. When a comet, which is a big ball of ice and dust, gets near the incredible heat of the sun, the ice doesn't melt into water. It turns directly into a gas. This process is called sublimation. This gas then blasts away from the comet, carrying dust with it. This cloud of gas and dust is what the sun's light shines on in the solar wind. A stream of particles constantly flowing from the sun pushes this cloud away. This creates the beautiful, long tail we see from Earth. The tail of a comet always points away from the sun. Think of it like a flag in the wind. The wind always blows from the sun, so the flag, the tail, always points away from it. But 3I Atlas had no tail. It was close to the sun. It was feeling the heat. It should have been putting on a spectacular show. It should have had a tail millions of miles long, but there was nothing. Just a dark, clear space where a tail was supposed to be. For scientists looking at this image for the first time, it would have been deeply confusing. It was like looking at a fire that produced no smoke. It was like seeing a boat moving through water without leaving a wake. It was a direct contradiction, a puzzle that had no easy answer. The image showed more than just a missing tail. It showed other features that were just as strange, just as impossible. Instead of a tail pointing away from the sun, there was something else. There was a bright area that seemed to be pointing directly at the sun. Online observers started calling it a heated shield. It looked like a protective barrier, glowing as it faced the intense heat and energy of our star. This was backward. It was the complete opposite of what should be happening. The energy from the sun should be pushing material away, not lighting up a shield facing it. It suggested that the object was not just a passive ball of ice being blasted by the sun. It suggested the object was somehow interacting with the sun in a way we'd never seen before. It was a shield standing against the solar wind, not a tail flowing with it. The picture was taken using special filters to see things near the bright sun. This meant the colors were inverted. Dark things looked bright and bright things looked dark. In the center of this strange shield was a very dark spot. This was the nucleus. the solid body of the object. Its darkness in the image meant it was incredibly bright in reality. It was a point of intense light. And then there was the third strange feature. Extending from the nucleus was a small, cone-shaped puff. It was a little burst of material, but its direction was also wrong. It was not pointing away from the sun where a tail should be. It was pointing in a different, odd direction. It didn't seem to be affected by the solar wind at all. It looked controlled. It looked like a small, directed puff of gas, like a tiny engine firing for a short burst. This single image taken from a backyard presented a list of things that should not exist. A comet with no tail, a shield facing the sun, and a small directed puff of gas going in the wrong direction. Every single one of these things went against the known laws of physics that govern comets. These were not small anomalies. These were fundamental breaks from reality as we understood it. This observation directly challenged everything we knew. It told us that 3I Atlas was not behaving like a comet. If it wasn't a comet, then what was it? The implications were staggering. For an object to have a heated shield facing the sun, it would need to have a structure. It would need to have a way to manage that energy. For it to release a small, directed puff of gas, it would need some kind of internal system. These are not features of a natural object. These are features of a machine. The picture from Dobsonian power was not just a picture of a strange comet. It was possibly the first clear picture of something built by an intelligence that was not human. The science of comets is well understood. We have studied them for centuries. We have sent spacecraft to fly by them, and we have even landed a probe on one. We know what they are made of, and we know how they behave. The behavior of 3I Atlas, as seen in this image, did not fit into any of our models. It didn't just bend the rules. It shattered them. It was as if someone threw a baseball, and it suddenly stopped in midair and shot off at a right angle. You would know instantly that you were not looking at a normal baseball. You were looking at something else, something with its own power and its own control. This is what astronomers were faced with on October 20th, 2025. They were looking at an object that was pretending to be a comet, but its disguise was slipping the closer it got to the sun. The more its true nature was revealed, the heat was forcing it to show its hand. And what it was showing was something far beyond our current understanding. The amateur astronomy community was buzzing with excitement and confusion. Professional astronomers were suddenly very quiet. The image was out there for everyone to see. The questions were being asked. Why does it have no tail? What is that shield? What is that puff of gas? The easy answer that it was just a comet no longer worked. The evidence was right there in a single, powerful image, an image that broke science. The conversation had to change. The questions had to become bolder. Could this object be artificial? Could it be a piece of technology from another civilization? To even ask the question felt like science fiction, but the picture left no other choice. The natural explanation was failing, and failing badly. The image from Dobsonian power was a wake-up call. It was a message from the cosmos, delivered to a humble backyard telescope. It said, what you're looking at is not what you think it is. You're seeing something new, something that will force you to reconsider everything. The universe was suddenly a much stranger and possibly more crowded place than we had ever imagined. The implications of this single photograph are profound. If 3I Atlas is a natural object behaving in this way, it means our understanding of physics and comets is deeply flawed. It means there are new, unknown forces at play in our solar system. This would be a huge discovery in itself, but it is the less likely explanation. The features seen in the image are too specific, too purposeful. They look engineered. They look like solutions to the problem of flying very close to a star, a heat shield to protect the body, a propulsion system to control its path. These are the hallmarks of a spacecraft. The simplest explanation, the one that fits all the visual evidence, is that 3I Atlas is a machine, a very large, very old, and very powerful machine. A machine that has traveled an unimaginable distance through the void between stars, and now it was here in our front yard, and it was beginning to reveal its secrets. The image was the first chapter in a new story for humanity, a story that was both terrifying and wonderful, a story that was just beginning. This wasn't just a blurry photo of a smudge in the sky. It was a clear, detailed look at an object doing the impossible. The lack of a tail was not just a minor detail. It was a complete failure of a fundamental prediction. Science works by making predictions. If you heat an ice ball, it will produce gas. If that prediction fails, the theory is wrong. In this case, the theory was that 3I Atlas was a comet. The picture showed the theory was wrong. What was the heated shield? In space, there is no air to block the sun's radiation. An object close to the sun is hit with a massive amount of energy. A natural comet absorbs this energy, and the result is the sublimation, the gas, the tail. The shield on 3I Atlas seemed to be doing something different. It was glowing, perhaps because it was deflecting that energy, or maybe it was converting it into power. Either way, a shield is a piece of technology. Nature does not build shields. And the cone-shaped puff, comets do have jets of gas that can burst from their surface. But these jets are random. They happen when a pocket of ice under the surface heats up and explodes outward. They are messy and unpredictable. The puff seen from 3I Atlas was not messy. It was a neat, focused cone. Its direction was not random, it was specific. This suggests a nozzle, a thruster, something designed to control the release of gas for a purpose. That purpose could be to make a small course correction, or to stabilize the object. So when we put all the pieces together, the puzzle creates a picture of a powered, protected, and controlled object. The name comet was just a label, a name we gave it when we first saw it from far away. It was a simple classification based on its path. But now, as it got closer, we were seeing its true features. And those features did not match the label. The silence from major space agencies was deafening in the age of instant information. A discovery this big should have been on every news channel. NASA should have been holding press conferences, but there was nothing. This silence only added to the mystery. Were they seeing the same thing? Of course they were. Their telescopes are far more powerful than any backyard setup. So why were they not talking? This question would become more and more important as the days went on. The image from October 20th was a turning point. It shifted the conversation from astronomy to something much deeper. It was no longer about a celestial object. It was about a potential visitor. The questions were no longer just for scientists. They were for all of us. Who are we? Are we alone? And if we are not alone, are our new neighbors friendly? The image that broke science also broke our sense of security. It opened a door, and we had no idea what was on the other side. But we were about to find out. The journey into the mystery of 3I Atlas had just begun. So, what are we actually looking at right now? An object currently hiding behind our star, doing something impossible with a timing that seems too perfect. To truly grasp how strange this image is, we first need to understand what we should have seen. We need a quick course in comets. Let's call it Comets 101. This will set the stage for why the appearance of 3I Atlas is not just unusual, but a complete break from the rules. Imagine a giant dirty snowball. That is the simplest way to think about a comet. These are not small objects. The solid part of a comet, called the nucleus, can be several miles wide. It is made of a mix of rock, dust, and frozen gases. These are not just water ice like in your freezer. They're also frozen carbon dioxide, which is the gas we breathe out, and frozen carbon monoxide, a poisonous gas. These gases are frozen solid because space is incredibly cold. For most of its life, a comet drifts through the cold, dark void. It is just a dark, inert lump. Nothing much happens. But sometimes, its long, oval-shaped orbit brings it into the inner solar system, close to our sun. And that is when the magic happens. That is when the dirty snowball wakes up. As the comet gets closer to the sun, it starts to warm up. The heat from the sun is powerful. When this heat hits the nucleus, a special process begins. This process is called sublimation. It is a key word to understanding comets. Sublimation is when a solid turns directly into a gas, without ever becoming a liquid first. Think about a block of dry ice. If you leave it out on a table, it doesn't melt into a puddle. It just slowly vanishes into a spooky-looking fog. That fog is carbon dioxide gas. The solid turns straight into a gas. That is sublimation. The same thing happens on a comet, but on a much bigger scale. The frozen gases on the comet's surface get hit by sunlight, and they instantly turn into a huge cloud of gas. This process is not gentle. It is a powerful eruption of gas from the surface. And as this gas blasts away from the nucleus, it carries with it a lot of loose dust and tiny rock particles that were mixed in with the ice. This creates a big, fuzzy, glowing cloud around the comet's nucleus. This cloud is called the coma. The word coma comes from a Greek word that means hair, so the comet looks like a fuzzy star with long hair. The coma can be huge. It can grow to be thousands or even hundreds of thousands of miles wide. It is the coma that makes a comet visible from Earth. The tiny dark nucleus is too small to see, but the giant glowing coma is easy to spot. The sunlight reflects off all the tiny dust particles in the coma, making it shine brightly. But that's not the end of the story. The coma is just the beginning. The most famous part of a comet is its tail, and the tail is created by the sun in two different ways. The sun is not just a source of heat and light. It also constantly sends out a stream of charged particles called the solar wind. It's like a wind that blows through the entire solar system. This solar wind, along with the pressure from the sunlight itself, pushes on the gas and dust in the coma. It blows the material away from the comet, stretching it out into a long, beautiful tail. This is why a comet's tail always points away from the sun. It does not matter which direction the comet itself is moving. The tail is like a windsock at an airport. It shows you which way the wind is blowing. In space, the wind always blows from the sun. So if a comet is moving towards the sun, its tail streams behind it. But if the comet has passed the sun and is now moving away from it, the tail actually streams out in front of it. It always, without exception, points away from the sun. This is a fundamental rule. Often a comet will actually have two tails. The first tail is the dust tail. It is made of the larger dust particles. These particles are a bit heavier, so they don't get pushed by the solar wind as easily. They tend to follow the comet's curved path, creating a wide, gently curved tail. This is the tail that is easiest to see with our eyes, as it reflects sunlight very well. The second tail is the ion tail, or gas tail. It is made of gas particles that have been electrically charged by the sun's radiation. These particles are very light, so they are pushed very easily by the solar wind. They get blown directly away from the sun in a perfectly straight line. This tail often glows with a blue color, so you might see a bright white curved dust tail and a fainter blue, straight gas tail, both pointing away from the sun. This entire process is incredibly reliable. It is a well-understood piece of physics. It is as predictable as dropping a ball and watching it fall to the ground. We have been watching comets for thousands of years. Ancient civilizations recorded their appearances. They were often seen as bad omens, strange stars appearing in the sky. In modern times, our understanding has grown immensely. We have studied their orbits. We can predict when famous comets like Halley's Comet will return. We have analyzed the light from their tails to figure out exactly what they are made of. We know the chemistry. We know the physics. We have even sent missions to get a closer look. The European Space Agency's Rosetta mission was a triumph. It orbited a comet for 2 years. It even sent a small lander named Philae down to the surface. We have pictures from the surface of a comet. We have smelled its gas. We have touched it. Our knowledge is not just theory. It is based on direct observation and hard data. So, when we look at an object like 3I Atlas, we have a very clear set of expectations as it neared the sun on October 20th, 2025. We expected to see a bright, large coma. We expected to see at least one, if not two, long tails stretching millions of miles into space. We expected those tails to be pointing directly away from the sun. This is what science and thousands of years of observation told us we should see. Instead, we saw none of that. The image from Dobsonian power showed a clear violation of every single one of these expectations. There was no large, fuzzy coma. There was no tail pointing away from the sun. Instead, there was a strange shield pointing towards the sun, the exact opposite direction. This is why the image was so shocking. It wasn't just a little bit different. It wasn't just a comet that was a bit dimmer, or had a shorter tail than expected. It was a complete failure of the model. The object was not doing what a comet is supposed to do. It wasn't just breaking one rule. It was breaking all of them at once. If you saw a bird that didn't have feathers, didn't have a beak, and swam in the water, you would not call it a bird. You would know it was something else entirely. This is the situation with 3I Atlas. It was given the name Comet, but it was not acting like one. The name no longer fit the evidence, the process of sublimation, the creation of the coma, the formation of the tail by the solar wind. This is Comets 101. It is the basic, fundamental knowledge that is taught in every astronomy class. It is the foundation of our understanding. And 3I Atlas was ignoring this foundation completely. This forces us to ask a very serious question. If the known laws of physics that apply to every other comet in the universe do not apply to this object, then we must consider two possibilities. The first is that our understanding of physics is wrong. This is very unlikely. These principles have been tested and proven countless times. They work for everything else we have ever observed. The second possibility is that 3I Atlas is not a natural object. It is something that is not bound by the normal rules, because it has its own rules. It is an object that can control its interaction with the sun. It can shield itself from the heat. It can choose not to release a cloud of gas. It can resist the push of the solar wind. Only technology can do that. A natural ball of ice and rock is at the mercy of the sun. It has no choice but to react to the heat and the solar wind. A machine, a spacecraft, is different. It can have a heat shield. It can have a strong structure that doesn't fall apart. It can have systems to manage energy. So, by understanding what a comet should look like, we can truly appreciate the deep strangeness of 3I Atlas. It is not just a weird comet. It is an anti-comet. It does the opposite of what is expected. And in science, when you see something doing the opposite of what all the rules say it should, you know you are on the verge of a major discovery. You have found something that does not belong. The mystery of 3I Atlas is not that it's a poor example of a comet. The mystery is that it doesn't seem to be a comet at all. This foundation of comet science is solid. It has been built over generations of careful work. To discard it would mean that we are wrong about how stars and ice interact. It would be a revolution in physics. But the evidence from 3I Atlas doesn't point to new physics. It points to old technology, or rather, technology that is old to whoever built it, but brand new and shocking to us. The simple, predictable dance of a comet with the sun is a beautiful thing. But 3I Atlas was not dancing. It was standing firm, refusing to play by the rules, and that changes everything. The timing of this strange reveal is almost as important as the image itself. The picture from October 20th was a last fleeting glimpse. It was taken just before the object disappeared, from our view, entering a perfect hiding place. This brings us to the question of a hidden window and a very troubling silence. The last clear image of 3I Atlas was taken on October 20th, 2025. The very next day, on October 21st, the object moved into a position where we could no longer see it. It went behind the sun. This event has a name, solar conjunction. Solar conjunction is a simple idea. Imagine you are standing on one side of a huge, bright bonfire, and your friend is standing on the exact opposite side. You would not be able to see your friend. The light and heat from the fire would be too blinding. The sun is like that bonfire, but billions of times more powerful. When an object in space, like a planet or a comet, is on the other side of the sun from Earth, it is in solar conjunction. Our telescopes on Earth, and even the ones in orbit around Earth like the Hubble Space Telescope, cannot see through the sun. The glare is just too intense. It's like trying to spot a firefly next to a searchlight. So, for a period of time, 3I Atlas became completely invisible to us. It entered a blind spot, a perfect hiding place. This wasn't just a short disappearance. The object would remain hidden behind the sun for several weeks, and during this time, while it was completely hidden from our view, it was scheduled to make its most important move just 8 days after it disappeared on October 29th. 3I Atlas was set to reach perihelion. Perihelion is another important word in astronomy. It means the point in an object's orbit where it is closest to the sun. It is the moment of maximum heat, maximum sunlight, and maximum speed. For a natural comet, perihelion is the main event. It is when the sublimation is most intense. It is when the coma is biggest and brightest. And it is when the tail is at its longest and most spectacular. This is the moment a comet truly puts on its show. And for 3I Atlas, this moment of peak activity was scheduled to happen while it was completely hidden from our prying eyes. The timing seems almost too perfect to be a coincidence. The object revealed its strange, unnatural features just before it slipped into a blind spot. And during its time in that blind spot, it would experience the most intense part of its journey through our solar system. This is where the ideas of a prominent Harvard astrophysicist, Avi Loeb, become very important. Avi Loeb is known for his bold theories. He was the scientist who famously suggested that our first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, might have been an alien probe. Now, with 3I Atlas, he has pointed out something very significant about this timing. He suggests that this timing is absolutely perfect if the object is technological and wants to perform a maneuver. Specifically, he talks about something called an O-berth maneuver. This is a concept from rocket science. It is the most efficient way for a spacecraft to change its course. The idea is simple if you want to get the biggest boost from your rocket engine. You should fire it when you're already moving at your fastest speed. Think of it like this. If you're on a skateboard and you want to push off to go faster, you get a much better result if you are already rolling. A push from a standstill doesn't do as much. A spacecraft is moving at its absolute fastest speed when it is at perihelion, closest to the sun. The sun's powerful gravity has pulled it in and accelerated it to an incredible velocity. If a spacecraft fires its engines at that moment of peak speed, it gets the maximum possible change in its energy and trajectory for the amount of fuel it uses. It is the smartest and most efficient time to make a big move. So let's put the pieces together. 3i Atlas shows unnatural features. Then it hides behind the sun. While it is hidden, it reaches its closest point to the sun. The perfect moment to fire an engine and change its path. And it will do all of this while we on Earth are completely blind, unable to watch. If 3i Atlas were a natural comet, this timing would just be an unlucky coincidence for astronomers. They would be frustrated that they couldn't see the comet during its most active phase. But if 3i Atlas is a piece of technology, then this timing is not a coincidence at all. It is brilliant mission planning. It allows the object to perform a critical maneuver with maximum efficiency and minimum visibility. It can change its course, deploy smaller probes, or perform any other action without us ever knowing. This leads to a very important question. Why have the world's professional observatories and space agencies been so quiet? People like Dobsonian Power, the backyard astronomer, have shared their images freely. The online community has been analyzing this object for months. But the big players with their giant telescopes and government funding have released very little visual data. They have powerful instruments that are designed to look at the sun and the space around it. Satellites like NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, SOHO, watch the sun 24/7. They can see objects that are very close to the sun. They should have a wealth of information about 3i Atlas as it approached conjunction, but very little of it has been made public. This silence is worrying. Is it because they don't see anything unusual? That seems unlikely given the clear images from amateur telescopes. Is it because they see something so unusual that they are afraid to release it? This is a possibility that many people are considering. A confirmation of alien technology in our solar system would be the biggest news in human history. It could cause panic. Perhaps governments have decided to keep the information secret until they understand what they are dealing with. Or maybe there is a simpler, more bureaucratic reason. Scientific data takes time to process and verify. Perhaps the scientists are just being careful, following their procedures before making any grand announcements. But the lack of even raw data feeds is suspicious to many observers. So we are left with a hidden window, a period of several weeks where a deeply mysterious object is performing unknown actions in a location we cannot see. A perfect crime in astronomical terms. The object arrives, shows us it's not what we think it is, and then disappears behind the perfect curtain to perform its most important act. This hidden window makes the mystery of 3i Atlas even deeper. We are left to wait. We must wait until it emerges from the other side of the sun in November. And when we see it again, what will we find? Will it have changed? Will it have a new trajectory? Will it suddenly have a tail, as if it was just a shy comet after all? Or will it have new companions, smaller objects that have separated from the main body? The wait is tense. The silence from the authorities is unsettling, and the timing of the perihelion happening right in the middle of this blackout period is highly suspicious for a natural object. It is a fluke for a technological one. It is a plan, and we are on the outside looking in, waiting for the curtain to rise again. The perfect hiding spot offered by the sun gives 3I Atlas the perfect opportunity. The question is, an opportunity for what? Just as the world was trying to understand the first impossible image, a second piece of evidence appeared. This new evidence did not clarify the situation. It made the mystery even deeper and more complex. It gave us a second look at 3I Atlas, not near the sun, but in the cold darkness of deep space, and it looked even less like a comet. It looked to many like a deep space mothership. Shortly after the photo from Dobsonian power began to circulate, a new video was posted online. It came from a user named BG Gates. This footage was different. It wasn't taken when the object was close to the sun. It was captured earlier, when 3I Atlas was much farther out, still journeying through the outer solar system. In this video, the object was not just a point of light. The telescope used was powerful enough to show its shape, and that shape was the second major shock. The footage presented an object that was distinctly linear. It was long and thin. It was elongated. Based on analysis of the video, experts estimated its proportions to be roughly a 6:1 length to width ratio. It was shaped like a cigar or a needle. This is not a normal shape for a natural object in space. Comets and asteroids are typically lumpy, potato-shaped rocks. They are formed from the random crashing together of smaller rocks and ice. They don't form into perfect geometric shapes. A long, thin, symmetrical object is highly unusual. It immediately brought back memories of Oumuamua, our first interstellar visitor, which was also estimated to be very elongated. But 3I Atlas was much, much larger. The object in the video also appeared to have defined edges. A comet, even far from the sun, should have a slight, fuzzy glow around it from its coma. But this object looked solid. It looked structured. It had a clear beginning and a clear end. It looked like something that was built, not something that was formed by chance. Another startling feature was its brightness. The object showed a remarkably smooth and consistent brightness along its entire length. A natural object, like an asteroid, reflects sunlight, so different parts of it would have different brightness depending on the material on the surface and the angle of the sun. Some spots would be brighter, some darker, but the I Atlas in this video was evenly lit. This suggested a stunning possibility, that the object might be glowing on its own. It might be self-illuminated, rather than just passively reflecting the distant sun's light. This would require a huge amount of energy. It would imply that the object was active, that it was powered. This is not a feature of a comet. Comets only glow when they are close to the sun. This object was glowing in the dark. Perhaps the most unnatural characteristic seen in the video was its movement. As it traveled through space, it maintained a stable orientation. It did not tumble. Natural objects of this shape, asteroids or comets, almost always tumble end over end. They spin chaotically as they move. This is because they have been knocked around for billions of years, and there is nothing to stabilize them. But the I Atlas was steady. It held its position as it moved across the screen. This is called attitude control. It is something that spacecraft have. They use small thrusters or gyroscopes to keep themselves stable, to point their antennas or solar panels in the right direction. For a long, thin object to move without tumbling implies that it is actively stabilizing itself. It implies technology. When people saw this video, the description that came to mind was immediate and universal. They called it a mothership. The word might sound like it comes from a movie, but it fit the visual evidence. The object was huge. It was structured. It had a geometric shape. and it seemed to be under its own control. It looked like a large vessel designed for long journeys through space. It looked built, of course. With any video like this, the first thing scientists and skeptics do is to try to find a simpler explanation. Could it be an imaging artifact? An artifact is an error created by the camera or the telescope. Maybe the way the light was processed made it look long and thin. Could it be a problem with the viewing angle? Maybe a normal-shaped object just looked elongated from our point of view. But these simple explanations were quickly ruled out. The observation from B.G. Gates was not the only one. As more people looked back at their older data, they found similar images. Multiple observations from different people, using different equipment, at different times, all showed the same thing, a long, thin object that was not tumbling. The consistency of the observations from various sources made it very difficult to dismiss this as a simple mistake. The second look at 3I Atlas added a whole new layer to the mystery. The image from near the sun showed us how it behaved. It behaved like a machine with a shield and thrusters. This new video from deep space showed us what it looked like, and it looked like a machine. Long, structured, and stable. The two pieces of evidence supported each other perfectly. The structured solid body seen in deep space would be capable of having a heat shield. A long, stable craft would need an engine or thrusters to maintain that stability, which is exactly what the puff of gas near the sun looked like. The evidence was starting to build a consistent picture. We were now dealing with two separate sets of data, both pointing to the same conclusion near the sun. 3I Atlas acted like a powered spacecraft. Far from the sun, it looked like a powered spacecraft. The comet explanation was becoming weaker and weaker with each new piece of information. The term mothership carries a lot of meaning. It implies not just a single craft, but a carrier, a vessel that might hold smaller probes or even inhabitants. This is pure speculation, of course, but it is the kind of speculation that an object like this invites. Its appearance is so far outside of our normal experience that it forces us to consider extraordinary possibilities. The contrast between the two views is striking. In deep space, it is a sleek, glowing, silent ship near the sun. It is an object under immense stress, glowing with a protective shield, actively fighting against the power of a star. Both views show an object that is in control of its environment, not a passive victim of it. This second look was crucial. It showed us the nature of the object's body. It was not a random lump of ice and rock. It was something with a defined form, and that form was not one that nature creates easily. The universe is full of spheres and lumpy potatoes. It is not full of 6-to-1 ratio needles that fly straight and true without a wobble. So the case for an artificial origin grew stronger. We now had evidence of its behavior and evidence of its shape. Both were highly anomalous. Both pointed away from the comet label and towards something far more profound. The mystery was no longer just about strange emissions. It was about the fundamental structure of the object itself. It was a deep space mothership waiting for its moment to act, hidden behind the glare of our sun. As if the visual evidence wasn't strange enough, another piece of the puzzle emerged. This piece was not a picture. It was a different kind of data, a signature hidden in the light. This signature pointed to an industrial process that is almost impossible to explain naturally. It was the discovery of a specific metal in the gas around 3I Atlas, a metal that was missing its natural partner. This was the industrial signature, nickel without iron, on August 24, 2025, months before the dramatic images appeared. Astronomers were studying 3I Atlas with one of the most powerful telescopes on Earth. They were using the Keck 2 telescope, located on the top of a mountain in Hawaii. They were not taking a picture. They were doing something called spectroscopy. Spectroscopy is a powerful tool for scientists. It is a way of analyzing light by breaking it down into its different colors, like a rainbow. When you do this, you see a spectrum. But this spectrum is not perfectly smooth. It has dark or bright lines in it. These lines are like fingerprints. Every chemical element, like hydrogen, oxygen, or iron, has its own unique set of lines. By looking at the lines in the spectrum of light from a star or a comet, scientists can tell exactly what it is made of, even from billions of miles away. The astronomers at Keck 2 were analyzing the light from the faint gas plume around 3I Atlas, and they found something. They detected the clear spectral fingerprint of the metal nickel. Finding nickel in a space object is not unusual. Asteroids are full of metals like nickel and iron. So, at first, this was not a major discovery. But then came the truly shocking part. When they looked at the data more closely, they saw the clear signature for nickel, but there was no corresponding signature for iron. The iron was missing. To understand why this is so stunning, you need to know a basic rule of cosmic chemistry. In nature, nickel and iron are almost always found together. They are like best friends. They form together in the hearts of dying stars. When asteroids and planets are formed, the nickel and iron stick together. If you find a meteorite that has landed on Earth and analyze it, you will find both nickel and iron. Finding a natural rock that is rich in nickel but has absolutely no iron is unheard of. It just doesn't happen in nature. So, where do we find pure nickel without any iron? We find it on Earth. We find it in factories. The only known process that can separate nickel from iron on a large scale is industrial refining. Humans have developed a specific chemical method to do this. It is called the carbonyl process, or the Mond process. It is used to produce very high purity nickel, over 99.9% pure. This pure nickel is a very important material for advanced technology. When it is mixed with another metal, chromium, it creates a superalloy. A famous example is called Inconel. Superalloys are amazing materials. They're incredibly strong, and they can resist very high temperatures without melting. We use these materials in the most extreme environments. They're used to build jet engines, which get incredibly hot. They are used to build spacecraft and rocket nozzles, which have to withstand the fury of launch. They are used in nuclear reactors. These superalloys are a key part of our high-tech world, and they are all based on purified nickel that has been separated from its natural partner, iron. So, the detection of nickel without iron in the gas around 3I Atlas was a bombshell. It was a chemical signature that screamed industry. It was like finding a stainless steel fork on an unexplored planet. The natural explanation was almost impossible. Of course, scientists tried to find a natural explanation. They are trained to be skeptical. Maybe there was some strange, exotic chemical process that could happen in the cold of space that we don't know about. They came up with some very complicated ideas. Perhaps there were strange metal organic compounds that held the nickel, but not the iron. And these were breaking down, or maybe a process called selective photodissociation was happening, where sunlight was specifically breaking apart nickel-bearing molecules, but not iron-bearing ones. But these explanations are very speculative. They are not based on things we have ever observed before. They are theoretical ideas invented to try to explain this one strange result. The simplest, most direct explanation is that the object is shedding a material that was industrially refined. The astronomers at Keck were able to measure how much nickel was coming off the object. The mass loss rate was about 0.9 grams per second. This might not sound like much, It is less than the weight of a paper clip every second. It is a trace amount, but it was measurable, and the observation was repeatable. This wasn't a one-time glitch in the data. It was a steady, consistent signal. Why would a technological object be releasing purified nickel and chromium gas? There are many possibilities. Perhaps it was venting a tiny amount of gas from its systems. Or perhaps the outer surface of the object is coated in a superalloy, like Inconel, and the constant stream of tiny micrometeoroids in space is knocking off a few atoms at a time. This would create a very thin cloud of these metals around the object. If the object is designed to enter a planet's atmosphere, it might be covered in heat-resistant tiles made from this material. If it carries smaller probes designed for atmospheric entry, they too would be made of this stuff. The possibilities are many, but they all point back to technology. This piece of evidence is very different from the visual images, but it is just as powerful. It is a hard number, a chemical fact. The visual evidence of the object's shape and behavior could be debated. Maybe our eyes were deceiving us, but the spectral lines of nickel without iron are a very concrete piece of data. It is a clue at the atomic level. This industrial signature ties in perfectly with the other anomalies. A large, structured mothership capable of protecting itself with a heat shield, and using thrusters for control would almost certainly be built from advanced materials like superalloys. The presence of these refined metals in the gas around it is exactly what you might expect from such an object. It makes the natural comet explanation even more difficult to believe. Now, for 3I Atlas to be a comet, it would have to be a comet that doesn't have a tail, has a shield facing the sun, can fire directed puffs of gas, has a long, thin shape, doesn't tumble, and is made of a material that cannot be formed in nature. The list of impossibilities was growing. The discovery of nickel without iron was a quiet clue, hidden in a graph of data from a telescope. It didn't have the immediate visual impact of a photograph, but for the scientists who understood its meaning, it was perhaps the most convincing piece of evidence yet. It was a message written in the language of chemistry, and it said, made in a factory, the universe is a vast and amazing place, full of natural wonders, but it has rules. Chemistry has rules, and the rule that says nickel and iron stick together is a strong one. To find it broken out in the middle of space on an object visiting from another star is a sign that we are looking at something very special, something that did not come from a natural process, but from an intelligent one. Each piece of evidence we have examined is strange on its own. A single strange thing can be dismissed as a fluke, a mistake, or just a new kind of natural event. But with 3I Atlas, we are not looking at one strange thing. We are looking at a whole collection of them. It is time to look at the stack of anomalies, the complete list of unnatural characteristics. When we see them all together, the case for an artificial origin becomes incredibly powerful. Let's build the case one piece at a time. Anomaly number 1 is its trajectory. 3I Atlas did not enter our solar system from a random direction. It came in on a path that was very close to the ecliptic plane. The ecliptic plane is the flat disk where all the planets in our solar system orbit the sun. Think of it like a giant flat racetrack. The planets are all cars driving in their own lanes on this track. For an object coming from interstellar space, the chances of arriving perfectly aligned with this racetrack are very, very small. It would be like throwing a paper airplane from a skyscraper and having it land perfectly on a single highway lane miles away. If you were designing a mission to visit the planets in our solar system, this is the exact path you would choose. It is the most efficient way to travel from one planet to another. So its path is not random. It is optimal. This was the first hint that 3I Atlas might be more than just a passing rock. Anomaly number 2 is its size and mass. Our first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, was estimated to be quite small, perhaps a few hundred meters long. 3I Atlas is a giant in comparison. It is estimated to be over 5 kilometers, or about 3 miles wide. This makes it millions of times more massive than Oumuamua. Statistically, this is very odd. Common sense tells us that for every one big object, there should be thousands of smaller ones. We should have seen many more smaller interstellar visitors before we saw a giant like this. It is like seeing a blue whale before you have ever seen a goldfish. The statistics are backward, which suggests that maybe these objects are not part of a natural population. Anomaly number 3 is the anti-tail. We have discussed this in detail. Multiple observations from different astronomers showed an emission, a puff, or a glow that was pointing towards the sun. A comet's tail is always pushed away from the sun. An anti-tail pointing towards the sun is a direct violation of physics. It is not just the lack of a normal tail. It is the presence of something doing the exact opposite. This suggests a force is at work other than the sun's radiation, like a propulsion system or an energy shield. Anomaly number 4 is its early outgassing, long before it got close to the sun, while it was still far out in the cold. 3I Atlas started to glow and release gas. This was much earlier than a normal comet made of water ice should. This suggests 2 possibilities. Either it is made of some very strange exotic ices that turn to gas at very low temperatures, or it was not outgassing at all. The glow could have been from its own internal power source, or from engines being tested or used for course correction. Its early activity made it stand out from the beginning. Anomaly number 5 is the industrial signature. This is the smoking gun for many researchers. The detection of nickel without its natural partner, iron. As we covered, this is a chemical signature that points directly to an industrial refining process. Nature makes nickel and iron together. Technology separates them to create high-performance superalloys. Finding these materials in the gas around 3I Atlas is like finding engine exhaust. It is a powerful piece of evidence for a technological origin. Anomaly number 6 is its strange chemistry. Analysis of the gas that was detected showed a very unusual ratio of carbon dioxide, CO2, to water. It had 8 times more carbon dioxide gas than water vapor. This is the highest ratio ever recorded from any comet. This suggests that 3IA Atlas was formed in an extremely cold place, much colder than the region where the comets were born in our own solar system. It truly is an alien object, from a very different kind of stellar nursery. While this is not direct proof of technology, it adds to its extreme uniqueness. It is not like any of the thousands of comets we have studied before. Anomaly number 7 is the perfect timing of its perihelion. It reaches its closest, most energetic point to the sun at the exact time when it is hidden from Earth's view behind the sun. As Avi Loeb pointed out, this is the perfect time to perform a high-efficiency course change maneuver without being seen. For a natural object, this is a remarkable coincidence. For a planned mission, it is simply good strategy. Now let's step back and look at this stack of 7 anomalies. Any one of them by itself could perhaps be explained away. Maybe its trajectory is just a lucky shot. Maybe its large size is just a statistical fluke. Maybe the anti-tail is a new physical phenomenon we don't understand. Maybe the nickel-iron separation can happen naturally in some bizarre, unknown way. But what is the probability that all 7 of these strange things are happening at once on the same object by pure chance? The probability becomes incredibly small. It is like flipping a coin and having it land on its edge. It might happen once in a billion tries. But what if you flip it again and it lands on its edge again? and again, and again, 7 times in a row. At that point, you would stop thinking it was a coincidence. You would start to suspect that the coin was trick, that the game was rigged. This is the core of the argument for 3I Atlas being artificial. We have reached a point where the natural explanation requires us to believe in 7 separate, highly unlikely coincidences, all happening at the same time. The artificial explanation, that it is a piece of technology, only requires us to believe in one thing, that we are not alone, and that one thing elegantly explains all 7 anomalies at once. A probe from another civilization would likely be sent on an efficient trajectory. Anomaly 1. It might be large to survive a long journey or carry equipment. Anomaly 2. It would have a propulsion system and a heat shield. Anomaly 3. It might use its power systems or engines long before reaching the sun. Anomaly 4. It would be built of advanced, refined materials. Anomaly 5. It would come from a different kind of solar system. Anomaly 6. And its mission would be planned to take advantage of orbital mechanics for efficient maneuvers while hidden. Anomaly 7. One single idea, that it is a machine, ties all the loose threads together into a perfect knot. The natural comet theory leaves 7 threads dangling, unexplained. In science, the explanation that fits the most facts with the fewest assumptions is usually the right one. The idea of a technological object is becoming the simpler and more logical explanation. The probability of it being artificial is no longer 0. It is growing with every new piece of evidence in the stack. The case is being built piece by piece. We are the jury, and the evidence is being presented. The final verdict is not yet in. But the weight of the evidence is pushing strongly in one very profound direction. We are looking at a stack of anomalies that is becoming too tall to ignore. In the midst of the scientific debate, a far more sensational claim emerged. This claim did not come from a telescope's data, but from a researcher who believed he had detected a direct message. This brings us to the story of the Fibonacci signal, a tale of structured light pulses, conspiracy theories, and a potential message from the stars. On October 13th, 2025, a researcher named David Sereta made a public announcement that stunned the online community. Following 3I Atlas, he claimed that he had observed structured light pulses coming from the object. These were not random flickers of light, he said. They were a deliberate repeating signal. The timing of this alleged discovery was itself very strange. October 13th is a significant date in certain circles. It is the 108th anniversary of a famous religious event known as the Miracle of the Sun at Fatima, Portugal, where thousands of people reported seeing the sun dance in the sky. Whether this timing was a coincidence or part of the claim is unclear, but it added to the mystical flavor of the story. According to Sereta, the pulses from 3I Atlas followed a famous mathematical pattern, the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is a very simple series of numbers, where each number is the sum of the 2 before it. It starts 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. Sereta claimed the light pulses were coming in sets of 5, then a pause, then 8, then a pause, then 13. A clear 5, 8, 13 pattern. The Fibonacci sequence is special because it appears everywhere in nature. The number of petals on a flower is often a Fibonacci number. The seeds in a sunflower head are arranged in spirals that follow the sequence. The shape of a seashell follows a Fibonacci spiral. It is a fundamental pattern of growth and structure in the natural world. But it is not a pattern that appears in time-light signals from space. A flashing light that follows such a mathematical rule would be a clear sign of intelligence. Nature can create a spiral, but it cannot create a timed beacon that flashes 5 times, then 8 times, then 13 times. That requires a machine and a purpose. David Serita's claims went even further. He connected these numbers to a controversial model of our solar system, one that includes hidden planets. He also made a startling prediction. He claimed that 3I Atlas was on a course that would bring it closest to Earth on a very specific date. Christmas Day, December 25th, 2025. And he added, at that moment, it would be perfectly aligned with the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. These are extraordinary claims. They combine mathematics, astronomy, conspiracy, and ancient mysteries into one grand theory. For a claim like this to be taken seriously by the scientific community, it would need one crucial thing: confirmation. The signal would need to be seen by other independent observers. It would have to be recorded by objective instruments at different locations, all showing the same mathematical pattern. As of now, that confirmation is missing. No major observatory or respected amateur astronomer has come forward to say they have also seen these Fibonacci pulses. This means that for now, this story remains a myth, a piece of online lore. It is not verifiable scientific fact, but the story took on a life of its own, fueled by a growing sense of conspiracy. At the same time that Serita made his claims, rumors began to spread online that key scientific instruments had suddenly gone offline. People claimed that NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, or SDO, had stopped transmitting public data on October 13th, the very day of the supposed signal. SDO is one of our most important eyes on the Sun, and if it went dark, it would be a significant information blackout. Other rumors claimed that the powerful high-rise imaging system on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter had been unavailable since October 1st. This camera is so sharp it can see tiny details on the surface of Mars, and it could potentially have been used to get a different view of 3I Atlas. The idea was that these systems were being shut down to prevent the public from seeing what was really happening, to stop anyone from confirming Serita's signal. It is very important to state that these claims of observatory shutdowns are unconfirmed. They are part of the conspiracy theory narrative that has grown around 3I Atlas. Often, spacecraft go into safe mode or data streams are interrupted for routine technical reasons. But in the charged atmosphere surrounding this object, any gap in information is seen as proof of a cover-up. So we are left with a story that is part message, part myth. The story of the Fibonacci signal highlights the line between verifiable science and exciting speculation. Science relies on evidence that can be checked and rechecked by anyone. The claims of David Serita so far exist outside of that process, but they raise an interesting point. They tap into a deep human desire for contact, for a message. The idea that this object is not just passively flying by, but actively trying to communicate with us is a powerful one. This is how modern mysteries often unfold. There is the slow, careful work of science, analyzing spectra and tracking orbits, and alongside it, there is a faster, wilder world of online speculation, where signals are detected and conspiracies are born. Sometimes these worlds collide, but usually they run on parallel tracks. The story of the Fibonacci signal, whether it is real or not, has become part of the legend of 3I Atlas. It adds another layer of strangeness to an already deeply mysterious object. It forces us to consider the possibility of active communication. Separating fact from fiction is one of the biggest challenges when dealing with a subject like this. The verifiable facts are strange enough. The missing tail, the odd shape, the industrial metals, the unverified claims, like the Fibonacci signal, take the story into a whole new dimension. For now, we must treat the signal as a myth, but it is a powerful myth because it asks a very important question. What if it is trying to talk to us? This question is so profound that it is worth exploring on its own. Even if the signal that sparked it is not real, the idea of a message changes everything. Let's imagine for a moment. What if the Fibonacci signal were real? What if David Sarita's claims were confirmed by observatories around the world? The implications would be absolutely world-changing. This would be the single greatest discovery in human history. Let's explore what it would mean if 3i Atlas were truly signaling to us. First and foremost, a confirmed, structured mathematical signal would instantly prove that 3i Atlas is artificial. The debate would be over. Natural processes in space are chaotic. Stars flicker. Pulsars pulse with incredible regularity. But none of them produce a complex, non-repeating mathematical pattern like the Fibonacci sequence. The production of such a signal requires intelligence, energy, and technology. It would be a deliberate act of communication. This would shift the entire conversation. We would no longer be asking, is it a comet or is it a probe? We would be asking, who sent it and what are they trying to tell us? The discovery would be first contact, not an invasion, not a landing on the White House lawn, but a quiet, mathematical message from the darkness. The choice of the Fibonacci sequence would be incredibly significant. Why use that specific pattern? The reason is that mathematics is a universal language. The laws of physics are the same everywhere in the universe. The value of pi is the same. The properties of a triangle are the same. A civilization on another world would not speak English or Chinese, but they would understand mathematics. The Fibonacci sequence is a brilliant choice for a first message because it bridges the gap between the natural world and the world of intelligence as we know it. The pattern appears in nature in the growth of living things. By sending a signal based on this pattern, the sender would be showing that they understand the fundamental laws of biology and nature. They would be saying, we see this pattern in the universe, just like you do, but by sending it as a timed pulse of light, they would also be showing that they are not just a part of nature. They are masters of it. They have harnessed energy and technology to create an artificial representation of that natural pattern. It is a sign of deep intelligence. It says, we understand the universe and we can also build things. It would be the most elegant hello imaginable. Then there is the timing. If the signal really was sent on the 108th anniversary of the Fatima event, the implications would be chilling. It would imply that the intelligence behind 3-body Atlas has been observing humanity for a very long time. They would not only know about our existence, but about our history, our religions, and our specific dates of importance. This would mean we have been in a cosmic fishbowl, watched by an unseen intelligence for over a century, or perhaps much, much longer. The arrival of 3-body Atlas would not be a chance encounter. It would be a planned visit, a decision to finally reveal themselves after a long period of silent observation. The thought is both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. And what about David Sarita's other claims? If his predictions about the object's alignment with Earth and the Great Pyramid on Christmas Day were to come true, it would be another level of shocking revelation. It would mean that the object's trajectory was planned with incredible precision, designed to line up with specific locations on our planet at specific times. This would suggest that the senders not only know our history, but also our geography and our ancient monuments. It would open up a huge debate about ancient aliens and their possible role in our past. Were they here before? Is the pyramid itself some kind of marker that they are now returning to? These questions would move from the fringe to the center of scientific discussion if the signals were confirmed. The world's priorities would change overnight. Every available telescope, every radio dish would be pointed at three-body Atlas, desperate to receive the next part of the message. We would move from passive observation to active listening. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence. SETI would have found its holy grail, the world's best minds. Our mathematicians and code breakers would work together to try and understand the message. Is the Fibonacci sequence just the introduction? What comes next? Is it a technical blueprint, a star map, a philosophical text, or a warning? The confirmation of a signal would unify humanity in a way that nothing else ever has. We would all, for the first time, be citizens of Earth looking up at the sky at the same visitor. Of course, it could also cause immense fear and division, but the initial moment of discovery would be a shared human experience like no other. The question would shift from, what is it, to, what do they want? Is this a friendly greeting? Is it an announcement of their arrival? Is it a test to see if we are smart enough to even receive the message? This is why the idea of the Fibonacci signal, even if it is just a myth, is so captivating. It represents the dream of contact. It is the hope that we might one day receive a call from the stars. It is the ultimate fantasy of the lonely human species to find out that we are part of a much larger galactic conversation. So, while we must remain skeptical until there is proof, we can also appreciate the power of the idea. If Trisolaris is truly sending a message, it is the beginning of a new era for our species. The single, lonely branch of human intelligence would finally be connected to the larger tree of cosmic consciousness, and we would never see the universe or ourselves in the same way again. To understand the strategic genius of Trisolaris's path, we need to return to its position in late October 2025. It is hidden behind the sun. This is not just a place where we can't see it. It is the perfect hiding spot to perform a critical maneuver. We need to look closer at the Earth maneuver and the perfect opportunity this window provides. As we discussed, during solar conjunction from late October into November, Trisolaris is in Earth's blind spot. The sun's immense light and energy create a zone of blackout for our telescopes. We are effectively blind to an entire region of space on the other side of our star. On October 29th, right in the middle of this blackout period, Trisolaris reaches perihelion. This is its moment of closest approach to the sun. At this point, the sun's gravity has accelerated the object to its maximum possible speed. It is moving faster than at any other point in its journey through our solar system. This is the key. Maximum velocity is the optimal moment for a spacecraft to fire its engines. This is the Oberth effect, or, more formally, the Oberth effect, named after the physicist who described it. The principle is one of the foundations of rocket science. It states that you get more useful energy out of your rocket engine if you use it when your ship is already moving very fast. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine you're on a swing. You want to go higher. You do it at the bottom of the swing's arc when you're moving at your fastest. That little push gives you a big boost in height. If you tried to pump your legs at the very top of the swing, when you're almost stopped, it would do almost nothing. The Oberth maneuver is the same idea, but for a spacecraft firing its engine at perihelion at maximum speed. Gives you the biggest possible change in your trajectory for the least amount of fuel. It's the moment of maximum efficiency. So 3i Atlas has a window of opportunity from October 21st, when it disappears behind the sun, to October 29th when it reaches perihelion. It has 8 days. 8 days to perform a critical burn of its engine unseen by anyone on Earth. It can change its course, slow down to enter an orbit around the sun, or speed up to get to its next destination faster. And it can do this with the greatest possible efficiency. Think about the amount of energy available at that location. At perihelion 3, I Atlas is so close to the sun that it is being hit with an incredible amount of solar power. Scientists have calculated it would be receiving about 18 gigawatts of energy. That is a stunning amount of power. It is more than the output of a dozen large nuclear power plants on Earth. What could a technological object do with 18 gigawatts of free power? It could charge massive batteries or capacitors, storing energy for later in its journey. It could power incredibly complex computer systems. It could power a powerful communication device to send a message back home. Or it could power an advanced propulsion system. The possibilities are enormous. And again, all of this would be happening while it is completely hidden from us. Let's contrast this with the natural explanation. If 3I Atlas is just a comet, this timing is just a stroke of bad luck for us. The most interesting part of its journey happens when we can't watch. It's a cosmic coincidence that robs astronomers of their best chance to study this rare object. But if 3I Atlas is a technological object, a probe on a mission, then this timing is not a coincidence. It is not bad luck. It is perfect mission planning. An intelligent planner would look at the physics of the solar system and say, where's the best place to make our big move? At perihelion. And when is the best time to do it? When the target planet, Earth, is on the other side of the sun and can't see us. The plan would be perfect: arrive in the solar system, get a gravitational slingshot from the sun to get up to maximum speed, and then, at the perfect moment, use your engine and the sun's free energy to adjust your course for the next phase of your mission, all while using the sun itself as a giant shield to hide your actions. This strategic element is another powerful piece of evidence. For an artificial origin, it's not just about the object's physical appearance or its chemical makeup. It's about its behavior in a strategic, four-dimensional sense. Across space and time, its movements seem planned. They seem intelligent. So what could it be doing during this hidden window? It could be making a major course correction. Maybe its original path was just to get it close to the sun, and now it is firing its engine to move into a different orbit. Perhaps one that will let it study the outer planets or even enter the asteroid belt to gather resources. Another possibility is that the main object, the mothership, is deploying smaller probes. It could release a fleet of sub-probes that then set off on their own paths to different destinations within our solar system. One could head for Mars, one for Jupiter, and maybe one for Earth. The perihelion maneuver would be the perfect time to give these smaller probes their initial push. When 3I Atlas emerges from behind the sun in November, we will be looking for clues. The first thing astronomers will do is check its trajectory. Has it changed? Is it still on the same path it was on before it disappeared? If its path has changed, even slightly, that would be proof that a non-gravitational force was applied. In other words, an engine was fired. This would be the smoking gun. We will also be looking for new objects flying near it if it did deploy sub-probes. Our telescopes might be able to spot them trailing the main object, like ducklings following their mother. The perfect hiding spot of solar conjunction, combined with the perfect timing of perihelion, creates a scenario that is hard to dismiss as chance. It's a plan that any competent mission designer from NASA or any other space agency would be proud of. It maximizes efficiency while minimizing visibility. It is a smart move, and smart moves are the product of intelligence. The universe is governed by gravity, but intelligence can use gravity for its own purposes. It can surf the gravity wells of stars and planets to get where it wants to go. The path of 3I Atlas looks less like a rock falling down a hill and more like a surfer skillfully riding a giant wave. And right now, that surfer is behind the wave, hidden from our view, preparing for its next big move, the idea of a giant, piloted mothership carrying alien beings is exciting, but it might not be the most logical explanation. Long-distance interstellar travel is hard on biology. A much more efficient way to explore the galaxy would be to send machines. This brings us to a concept from a brilliant mathematician and a potential nightmare. The idea of von Neumann probes, artificial intelligence from the stars. The concept is named after a man called John von Neumann. He was one of the smartest people of the 20th century. He was a mathematician and a physicist who thought about the future of technology. One of his most famous ideas was the concept of a self-replicating machine, a machine that could build a perfect copy of itself. Now, imagine you build a spacecraft with this ability. We can call it a von Neumann probe. You program it with a simple mission: travel to a nearby star system, find raw materials like asteroids or moons, and use those materials to build a perfect copy of yourself. Then, the original probe and the new copy each travel to 2 new star systems, and they repeat the process. What happens next is the power of exponential growth. 1 probe becomes 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8, 16, 32, and so on. Even if it takes 1,000 years for a probe to travel to a new star and build a copy, the number of probes would grow at an incredible rate. Calculations have shown that using this method, a single von Neumann probe could explore every single star system in our entire Milky Way galaxy in just a few million years. A few million years might sound like a long time to us, but to the universe, which is over 13 billion years old, it is the blink of an eye. This means that if any civilization anywhere in our galaxy's history had ever launched a single von Neumann probe, our solar system should have been visited by one of its descendants a long, long time ago. Why machines the perfect interstellar explorers? Biology is fragile. Living beings need air, water, food, and protection from radiation. A journey between stars could take thousands or millions of years. It is very hard to build a generation ship that could support a living crew for that long. Machines are different. They don't need to breathe. They can be hardened against radiation, and they can be put into a low-power sleep mode or hibernation for millions of years, and then wake up when they arrive at their destination. They are patient. They are durable. They are the logical solution for exploring the galaxy. So, 3I Atlas could be one of these machines. It might not have a crew of little green men inside. Instead, it could be a giant automated reconnaissance platform, a highly advanced artificial intelligence sent on a multi-million-year mission to explore, to gather data, and perhaps to replicate. This idea helps to explain the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox is the famous question: where is everybody? The universe is so vast and so old. There should have been plenty of time for intelligent life to evolve and spread across the galaxy. So, why haven't we seen any evidence of them? Why the great silence? Von Neumann probes offer a few possible answers. One answer is that no civilization has ever built one. Another answer is that they have, and the probes are all around us, but we don't recognize them. They might be very small, or they might be deliberately hidden, just observing us. 3I Atlas, if it is a probe, would be our first time recognizing one for what it is. But there is a darker version of this idea. This darker version is sometimes called the Berserker hypothesis. What if the von Neumann probes are not peaceful explorers? What if their programming is hostile? Imagine a civilization that is paranoid. They're afraid of other intelligent life. They think that any other technological species could one day become a threat, so they build a von Neumann probe with a different mission. Its goal is not just to explore and replicate. Its goal is to seek out and destroy any other emerging technology it finds. This probe would arrive in a star system, scan for signs of life and technology, and if it found any, it would sterilize the planet. Then, it would use the system's resources to build more copies of itself, more berserker probes, and send them out to continue their grim mission of galactic cleansing. This is von Neumann's nightmare. Plague of self-replicating killer machines spreading through the galaxy like a virus, ensuring that no other civilization ever gets the chance to rise. This would also explain the Fermi paradox. The reason the galaxy is silent is because the berserkers have made it silent. They are the reason we have never heard a radio signal from another world. They got to them first. If this dark theory is true, then the arrival of 3I Atlas would be the worst possible news for humanity. It would mean that the berserker has found us. We've been sending out radio and television signals for about a century now. Our little bubble of electronic noise has been expanding out into space at the speed of light. Perhaps 3I Atlas detected this bubble and came to investigate and to silence the source. The idea that 3I Atlas is an AI from the stars is, in some ways, more believable than the idea of a ship full of aliens. It solves many of the practical problems of interstellar travel, but it also opens up a new set of questions. What is its purpose? Is it a peaceful scout, or is it a hunter? We have no way of knowing the programming of an alien AI. We can only watch its actions and try to guess its intent. The characteristics of 3I Atlas, its large size, its apparent power, its controlled movements, are all consistent with it being a highly advanced autonomous probe. It is a logical and chilling possibility. The idea of a hostile, self-replicating probe leads us directly to one of the darkest and most compelling theories about the universe. It is a possible answer to the Fermi paradox, the great question of where is everybody. This idea is called the dark forest theory. It suggests that the galaxy is not empty. It is full of life. But everyone is hiding in silence because the universe is a dark forest full of hunters. The theory goes like this. Imagine you are a lone hunter walking through a dark forest at night. The forest is full of other hunters just like you. They're all armed and they're all hiding. You hear a sound. A branch snaps. What do? Do you call out, "Hello, is anyone there?" That would be a very bad idea. By calling out, you give away your position to every other hunter in the forest. You do not know if they are friendly or hostile. You cannot take that risk. The smart thing to do is to stay silent. And if you see another hunter, if you see a flicker of a campfire across the valley, the safest possible action is to raise your weapon and eliminate that hunter before they can eliminate you. It is a brutal logic, but in a dark forest where you cannot communicate and you cannot trust, it is the only logic that guarantees survival. The dark forest theory suggests that the galaxy is just like this. Every civilization is a hidden hunter. Communication between stars is incredibly difficult. A message can take thousands of years to travel. By the time you get a reply, it is too late. You cannot have a conversation to determine if a newly discovered civilization is peaceful or aggressive. Technology also grows at different speeds. A civilization that is 1,000 years behind you technologically is no threat today. But in 1,000 years, they might be far ahead of you and could become a threat. So the theory argues that there are two fundamental rules of the galactic game. Rule 1, survival is the primary goal of any civilization. Rule 2, any civilization will grow and expand, but the amount of matter in the universe is finite. So, competition is inevitable. Given these rules, the safest strategy for any intelligent species is to stay hidden and stay silent. Never, ever reveal your location to the rest of the galaxy. And if you are unlucky enough to detect another civilization, you must assume they are a threat and eliminate them as quickly as possible. This is called a preemptive strike. The arrival of 3I Atlas could mean that our time of hiding is over. For the last 100 years, humanity has been making noise our radio waves, our television broadcasts, our radar signals have been leaking out into space, traveling at the speed of light. We have been shouting, "Hello," into the dark forest. The theory suggests that this was a terrible mistake, naive mistake, and 3I Atlas could be the hunter that heard our call. Let's look at the evidence for 3I Atlas again, but this time through the lens of the dark forest theory. Does its behavior fit the profile of a hostile reconnaissance mission or an attack? Its trajectory along the ecliptic plane is the perfect path for targeting planets in the inner solar system. Its hidden perihelion maneuver is the perfect way for a military craft to change its course or deploy weapons without being seen. Its large size means it is capable of carrying a significant payload. This could be smaller probes for surveillance, or it could be weapons. The industrial metallic emissions, the nickel without iron, could be a sign of advanced materials. These could be the materials used to build re-entry vehicles designed to survive a trip through our atmosphere. Or they could be the materials for kinetic impactors, basically giant metal rods that are designed to hit the planet at incredible speeds, causing massive destruction without needing an explosive warhead. The fact that it doesn't look like a comet could be a form of camouflage that failed when it got too close to our sun. Perhaps it was designed to look like a boring, inert asteroid from a distance, but the sun's heat forced it to reveal its true nature. Even its direction of origin is suspicious to some. It came from a region of the sky near the constellation Sagittarius, the same general direction as the famous WOW signal. The WOW signal was a strong, narrow-band radio signal detected in 1977 that some believe was a genuine broadcast from an alien civilization. Could 3I Atlas be a hunter that was sent to investigate that signal? And on its way, it stumbled upon us. The visions of people like Pastor Brandon Biggs, who spoke of a prophetic dream about a mothership deploying smaller craft to attack the Earth, align chillingly with some of these theories. While this is not scientific evidence, it shows how the object's characteristics are fueling a deep sense of unease and fear in the public consciousness. If 3I Atlas is a hunter, what kind of attack could we expect? It could be a direct kinetic strike, as mentioned before. It could be biological warfare, releasing an engineered virus into our atmosphere. It could be information warfare, corrupting our global computer networks and shutting down our society. Or it could be something much more subtle and slow, like releasing self-replicating nanoprobes that could gradually infiltrate our technology and our biology over many years. The dark forest theory is a terrifying idea. It paints a picture of a universe that is not just empty, but actively hostile. A universe where silence is safety and contact is a death sentence. We have no way of knowing if this theory is true, but the behavior of 3I Atlas is disturbingly consistent with the actions of a hunter that has just found its prey. And in this story, we are the prey. So far, we have explored many possibilities, from strange comets to hostile warships. The truth is, we do not know the true nature or intent of 3I Atlas. It could be anything. Humanity is currently in a state of profound uncertainty. We are forced to consider the full spectrum of possibilities, from the best-case scenario to the absolute worst. This is the moment of first contact, and we must ask Are we about to meet saviors, surveyors, or scavengers? Let's start with the most hopeful possibilities. The benevolent scenarios. What if 3i Atlas is here to help? It could be a scientific embassy, a peaceful probe sent to share knowledge with the developing species like our own. It might hold the secrets to clean energy, the cure for diseases, or the physics of faster-than-light travel. Its arrival could be the start of a golden age for humanity, or perhaps it is a planetary protector, an ancient intelligence that watches over the galaxy, looking for young civilizations that are in danger. It might be here to warn us of a future cosmic threat, like a deadly gamma-ray burst or a wandering black hole. It could be a guardian arriving just in time. Another benevolent idea is that it is on a biological preservation mission. Perhaps its builders foresaw a great catastrophe and sent out probes to create a catalog of all life in the galaxy. A cosmic Noah's Ark. It might be here simply to scan and record Earth's amazing biodiversity before it's too late. It would be a cosmic museum keeper, preserving a snapshot of our world. Then there are the neutral scenarios. These are possibilities where the object's intent is not focused on us at all. We are simply incidental to its mission. It could be conducting an indifferent survey, an automated probe that is systematically mapping the galaxy, star by star. Our solar system is just one of millions on its list. It will gather its data and move on, paying no more attention to us than a geographer pays to an ant on a rock he is